Hi, it's Greg Hurrell here to talk about Vim again, and this is going to be a super fast screencast because my bus leaves in 10 minutes. And I want to talk about Karabiner Elements. This is the third in a series of screencasts on the subject of low-level keyboard modification. The first one was back in episode 9. I talked about the original Karabiner. Regrettably, that app doesn't work on the current version of Mac OS anymore. But you still might want to watch the screencast if you want some more context about the kinds of modifications you used to be able to do and why you might want to do them. But in episode 43, I followed up when I was forced to upgrade to Sierra, how I had worked around the lack of Karabiner by implementing some hammer spoon configs. Thankfully, I don't need those anymore because as of a few days ago, Karabiner Elements acquired the ability to do some of the things that I really needed it to do. Specifically, the ability for a key to be mapped to a certain thing when pressed alone, and a different thing when pressed in conjunction with another key. So the UI is not built for this yet, as you can see, but it does work, and you can configure it using a JSON file, which I'm going to quickly show you. But basically, one of the things I have it do is map caps lock to control when I'm chording it with another key, or backspace when used alone. So let's do an example of that. If I type hello and just tap caps lock, you can see it's showing up as backspace. But if I do control W, caps lock W, it deletes the whole word because I'm tapping the W key here and you can see it's caps lock W becoming control W, which is pretty cool. I do the same on the other side, which I won't bother to show you the actual config, but basically, return becomes control on the other side. So I can go ls, hit return on its own and it does return, but if I do control W, which is return W, I get a control W again. So you can imagine I use this a lot in Vim. So for example, if I have a split and I want to move back and forth, I'm just holding caps lock there instead of control. The other thing that I use or used Karabiner for originally and can now use Karabiner Elements for is to turn caps lock on by tapping left and right shift simultaneously. So I just did that and now I can enjoy the full benefit of caps locks. Tap them together again and caps lock is off. This is actually a little bit better than what I had with Karabiner because with the original Karabiner, tapping either shift key alone would turn off caps lock. So just say I wanted to do shift 4 to type a $, that would turn off caps lock and then the next word would not be in caps lock anymore. So I'm kind of glad that I've got this tapping both to toggle now. The other thing I've got in here is, let's see, I have control I mapped to F6 for convoluted reasons which involve the fact that in the terminal, the tab key and control I are seen as the same thing by Vim. So if I can use Karabiner Elements to turn control I into something else, in this case F6, I can actually map them separately, which means I can use tab to fold and unfold, but I can still have control I and control O work to move in and out of the jump list, which I find super useful. Now that has not got me yet back to full parity with what I used to have under Karabiner, the original one, but it's gotten me close, and it's more robust than what I have or what I had under Hammerspoon, because Hammerspoon is a user space app taking advantage of the event tap API, whereas Karabiner Elements, it's a kernel level module which is creating a virtual keyboard and presenting it to the OS. So it is pretty cool, pretty robust. So I'm looking forward to this, getting those last few remaining features that Karabiner, the original one, had. In the meantime, this is quite workable. One feature that it doesn't have, but which I've been able to work around, is the fact that you cannot set different configuration for different keyboards, which is a problem because my external keyboard looks like a PC keyboard. The Option and Command keys are back to front. If I use Karabiner to swap them around, then I'm also doing the same for my laptop's internal keyboard, which is obviously not acceptable. If I swap them using the system preferences, it has no effect because Karabiner is operating at like a level below what other parts of the operating system would see and which the system preference would modify. So one way to get around that is to have separate profiles. So I've got an internal keyboard profile for when I'm using the internal keyboard. I've got the real force profile for when I'm using the external keyboard. I've got a vanilla profile for when I just want to do testing of like what happens when there's no modification whatsoever. Switching these manually might be a little bit painful. and so I've been able to concoct a hammer spoon config for that. So hammer spoon is still useful for a bunch of things, but specifically what this does is it uses the HS USB module to monitor USB events. And up here, when we listen to them, basically if my external keyboard is either added or removed, then I'm going to select one of the profiles, and we do that straightforwardly by using this CLI tool that comes with Karabiner. And basically all that's doing, let me just reduce the fold here a little bit. You can see I've got too many levels of folding going on, but basically we have one configuration here, which is the real force one that's internal, and one that's the just global config, I think. And so, actually I don't know what that one is. Let's have a look. That one is the vanilla one, of course, I should have known. And so in this way, when I plug my keyboard in and out, I automatically toggle between profiles. So I'm pretty happy with this, to be back in the world of powerful and robust keyboard modification. So if you haven't yet dipped your toes in the water of Karabiner Elements, now is probably a reasonable time to try. So thanks for listening, and I will be back again with another screencast in the future, hopefully not as rushed as this one. Catch you later.